Hey folks, Jesse Randall, MSU. We're back out here on our food plot site. We've been working with the bulldozer on this blowdown site and pushing out some stumps. We came in with Colter, as you remember from our previous video, and we flagged out a location that was fairly level. And we're following those flags, pushing the stumps out as we come to them. And what you can see is we're really disturbing a lot of soil out here. So just because you have a contractor come in to push a food plot out does not mean it's going to be ready to plant right away. What we're going to have to do out here is we're going to have to come in, we're going to have to pick all the rocks, we're going to have to pick all of the brush and roots that are remaining, and then we're going to have to start to work at developing soil. All right, right now when you dig out a root ball that's been blown over, you create a fairly big cavity in the ground and you have to fill that back in, and so we're really disturbing the topsoil and the soil profile. And as Colter talked about earlier, it's really important that we begin to build that soil with rye, and then if possible over the next few years we'll move into clovers, and then eventually hopefully into some brassicas if the soil allows it. And we don't want to have to put a lot of inorganic fertilizers on this soil. We want to build those processes back. But you can see that this site was a former timber company ground. They've cut it off, part of it blew down. They've sprayed it in hopes of getting regeneration, and it didn't really happen. And so we thought this was the perfect site for us to come in and do something good with it. We are going to continue to plant trees around here, or they're going to come in and plant trees around it. But this is going to be a little hidden gem back here, about 1.5 acres. And as we walk through it here in a minute, you'll see that there's a long way to go. It's rough. You know, I was running that dozer, and there's still a lot to do. I would encourage you, talk to a contractor. Make sure they know exactly what you want and the finished process. Just make sure the more you add on to that contractor, the higher the bill is going to be. So if you're willing to put some sweat equity in it and pick the stones yourself and pick up the roots, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's going to be much easier for a contractor and cheaper for a contractor to come in, knock it out. If a contractor has a track hoe where they can come in and dig those roots out, you'll do a lot less soil disruption. In these sites that we have here in the Upper Peninsula, we see a lot of pit and mounds, or just drumlin laid mini drumlins everywhere. So there's going to be a lot of rocks, a lot of terrain that you got to knock off. We're going to visit another site here in a minute, which is in existing timber that was cut over years ago. The stumps have rotted, so all that was needed is the landowner went in, knocked those humps off, and we're going to visit that site and then start to talk about how much better the soil is, because they just had to disturb the very top of those drumlins. So we're going to take a quick walk and show you what this site looks like. You know, when you take a look at this root ball that I pushed out, you can see the sheer size of this root mass. You know, it's probably 7-8 feet across, 3 feet deep. The reason I did not push this all the way out of the food plot, my hope is that over the years, as this rots down, the soil or soil particles that were in the root systems will erode off or wash off onto the ground. The roots will break down and provide a lot of nutrients that the homeowner can then come in and push back. Hopefully the timber company will come back and push these stumps after they rot back into the ground. But you got to be careful about losing too many nutrients and too much topsoil when you push these stumps off, because they are fairly big. It's a shame that these trees blew down on this site, and they came in and salvaged them, thankfully. But now we're left with these stumps that have mostly tipped up, and so we pushed them off. to make this video series. But you can see there's going to be uneven terrain. There's a lot of roots and a lot of rocks left over. We've exposed a lot of mineral soil. You know, this soil is a fairly sandy silt with not a lot of topsoil on it. So they're going to have to work really hard to develop the soil profile to grow good seedlings or food crops if they want to make this a food plot, or just replant this to trees. If you were going to use this as a reforestation site, I would not go through the process of pushing out the tipped over stumps. I would just bring a crew in and hand plant this site back together. But this was done for our demonstration work, and to give you an idea of just what's involved, as you can see, a little bit of effort in here. I've pushed the stumps to the outside for them, but again, not too far, so we can utilize those stumps and those resources. Brush piles were pushed to the edge. That is great habitat. A lot of people ask me, well, don't you think they should come in this winter and burn those? Part of me says yes from the aesthetic view, but the ecology side of me says no, let's leave those for the wildlife, let's leave them for the critters, and let it break down slowly over time. It's not hurting anything where it's at. So I would leave your brush piles. It's a whole different group or class of wildlife that are going to use those brush piles for us. You can see that the site kind of meanders, and a lot of that edge creates more edge effect for turkeys and for deer. We can see over here there was pockets of fairly dense stumps, and that just becomes too difficult to push out multiple stumps at once, so we've just worked our way around them. Again, this was more for demonstration, and we're going to follow this over time so you can learn from our mistakes and our failures, and hopefully do it better than we are showing you out there. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and again, we learn from our failures more than our successes.